Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 322 for November 14th, 2023. I am your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the matchup is set for the 110th CFL Grey Cup game after a huge upset. Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh is suspended again, but this time by the Big Ten. And six NFL games were won on walk-off field goals. But I'm not all here by myself. Here all by myself.
Yeah, you're not all here, all right.
Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Yep.
You can tell I'm still a little under the weather.
Thank you for that, Jim. If that doesn't make it into our best of, it should. Write it down. Book it.
All right, best of.
Book it. Yeah, I'm doing great. What a weekend of football. We're going to talk about all that craziness. The 6 field goals to win games this weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely bonkers.
Yep.
Our Lions obviously involved in one of them.
Yeah.
My girlfriend has never seen me so stressed watching a Lions game. And emphasized by her talking to her dad on the phone, like, yeah, I've never seen him so stressed before. Like, you didn't come over for the game this weekend.
No, I didn't want to.
You were sick, but you're sounding a lot better compared to last week.
I do sound better. I told you my appetite is starting to come back a little bit. I've lost some weight, thank goodness. And but yeah,
I don't see it.
I was watching the game, the Lions game, of course, and we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
But it was. This is the kind of game we normally would lose.
Okay, I'm getting tired of hearing that. Like, I get it, like, but that's something like seriously. I'm just seeing all over Lions fans. Just,
right.
That's the kind of game the old Lions would have lost. I'm tired of hearing.
You're only talking from the perspective of what you've been watching Lions for 20 years.
30 years.
20 years.
I'm 34. I've been watching since essentially I was a kid.
Well, this is season number 49 for me. I've seen a lot more. Trust me when I say, yeah, this is different. You're just going to have to trust me on this.
Well, I can trust you only as far as I can throw you, despite as much as you say you've lost.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. We also want to keep an eye on our listeners. Where are you at? We've been asking folks for the last couple of weeks to let us know what country, state, or city you live in and where you're listening to us from.
Your social security number, your phone number, your bank account. Yep. Randy wants to know.
We know we have fans.
Retirement's been tough.
Yeah, it has been. We know we have fans in Australia, England, Japan, and Canada, and all over the United States. But we want to just be able to put a pin in a map. So if you feel like it, let us know where you're at, and we'll add you to our map. And we're going to ask for another week or so and see who responds to that. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and the YouTube video, so you can go right to the topics you're really interested in. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel by using the handle @TheWorldOfFootball, as well as other selected videos like Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast featuring Adam and Kyle. They talked this week about the Week 10 game versus the Chargers.
Yeah. Kyle didn't get to watch the game live. For those of you who didn't check it out, he was at the Metallica concert at Ford Field.
Yeah.
So he said he watched some of the game on his phone, and then he came home. He got home at like 1:30 or 2 in the morning and watched the Lions game, or a bunch of the Lions game he missed.
Yeah.
So a heck of a story by him. He said he got to actually slap hands with the lead singer of Metallica, because he like sat in the front row where like the bands would come out.
Cool.
So he got to slap hands with him, a singer for Five Finger Death Punch, I guess, a band I can't stand. But apparently Metallica didn't mention the Lions at all, but the Five Finger Death Punch singer came out with a Lions jersey. I think he had an Amon-Ra jersey, Kyle said. So that's kind of cool, but it stinks that Dan Campbell couldn't be at Ford Field to see Metallica, because I mean Metallica posted that great picture of,
was that their lead singer?
Their lead singer outside of Dan Campbell's office.
Yep, like, where are you, Dan? I'm here. We're your favorite band, and you're not here.
I told Kyle, I was like, you slapped the hand of the man that was this close to Dan Campbell's office. So don't wash that hand, Kyle.
We also have a video coming out about our NFL power rankings.
Yes, we did our first power rankings last week. It was just a short, but we figured maybe we'd try that. Maybe eventually we could do a longer form video. But for now, the shorts, I think for that works.
We got so many videos going on.
Yeah, I know. More on me.
Too many videos and not enough time.
There's definitely not enough time. I'll give you that. But no, so yeah, we did the Week 10 power rankings last week, and after this show, tonight at some point after the podcast gets posted, our Week 11 power rankings will go up. So please go over there, give us your thoughts, your power rankings on those videos when that comes out.
We also have our weekly picks video, and we're going to be picking Week 11 this week.
Yeah, we're recording tonight. Yep.
With a special guest picker,
Kyle.
Kyle.
He's gonna make his debut on the picks videos. Kyle making the rounds on the shows.
Odds on him wearing a Metallica shirt?
Not very likely.
No. Okay.
He might be in a bathrobe. Probably.
Okay.
Probably sipping a Mountain Dew or drinking a Bud Light. I don't know yet.
She should be drinking the blue Kool-Aid.
But we'll still have Aaron's picks. Aaron is taking a couple weeks to do his honeymoon.
Yep.
So Aaron will not be with us for a couple weeks, but we have his picks. He just texted them to me, so we'll be good to go.
All right. So let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football Scoreboard.
That's right, everybody. What a definitely a better weekend of NFL football than I anticipated. I don't know how you felt, because like when we saw that slate of like all the primetime games between Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night, it did not look like an appealing slate of games. And for the majority of it, I would say they weren't great games. Obviously, we start with the Thursday night game, which was a bit of a snoozer between the Bears and the Panthers. 16-13, the Bears took that one. The Panthers fall to 1-8 for the worst record in the league. But hey, that helps Chicago out no matter what, because the Bears get the Panthers' first round pick. So the Bears right now could be looking at having at least the number 1 pick, maybe the number 3 pick, depending on how the Bears shake out. But yeah, I don't know how much of this game you caught.
I did not see a whole lot of it. I watched the Lions game and the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, and that was about it.
I think the most entertaining part about that Bears game was, I think, Jason Kelce. I had just missed Jason Kelce being on the show during the broadcast. So, I mean, he's always fun to hear. But yeah, I kind of tuned out after a while for that Bears game. Well, then I actually did wake up early on Sunday and watch the Germany game, the Frankfurt game between the Patriots and Colts, which saw the Colts take the game 10-6. Did you catch any of this snooze fest?
No, I did not.
Yeah, after that first Colts touchdown, I was like, oh, maybe this will be more entertaining than I thought. Nope. What another boring game this ended up being. Bill Belichick did not get fired like a lot of people thought. Mac Jones, we'll see if he gets benched this week. He looked awful. That was just some of the worst quarterbacking I've seen. Both of these teams just look plain bad. I mean, the Colts are 5-5. But man, I've never seen a bad Bill Belichick team like this. I know you probably did back in the old days.
Way back when, yeah.
The
Patriots
Browns
weren't much of nothing.
And obviously, I remember when the Patriots were bad, but like not this bad.
Yeah.
So who knows? We'll see what happens. Then to start the 1 o'clock slate of games, how about this? We figured a division game. The division games are always the toughest ones, right?
Sure.
And the Cleveland Browns coming out with a 33-31 victory over the Ravens was a shock to me.
Yes.
Especially in Baltimore. We figured it'd be a tough game and that, maybe it wouldn't be a super high scoring game, but
right.
I mean, 33-31, that's not bad. And the fact that the Browns took care of the Ravens, who we've kind of been thinking might be one of the top 2 teams in the league, still could be, but I mean, they lost on a last second field goal in that game, right? So that was one of the 6 we're going to talk about. So yeah, that one ends in a last second field goal. So hard to knock the Ravens too much for losing on the last second field goal, but still, how about them Browns though? Let's give the Browns some credit. We've been flaunting that defense, and the fact that they hung with that Ravens team, says a lot. Maybe that's a team to watch out for.
Yeah, well, we'll see if the Browns can continue this, without slipping into the abyss again. But,
right.
But yeah, they did look good in this game.
And the last I looked, and we'll talk about it in a second, I think all the teams. Well, at one point, all the NFC or AFC North teams were in the playoff picture. I think now we'll talk about it in the next game. One team just slipped back out, and that team being the Cincinnati Bengals, who lost on a last-second field goal to the Houston Texans, 30-27 in this one. Houston, how about the Texans above 500 halfway through the season? I would not have thought so.
Yeah, that's surprising. Everybody thought, the Bengals were the new, superpower team.
Well, we thought the Bengals started off rough, but they kind of picked up some steam here.
Right.
And we kind of figured, well, the Texans, CJ Stroud's actually been having a really good rookie season. He might be one of the best up and coming players in this league. I mean, maybe even making an argument for MVP / at least rookie of the year. But to outduel Joe Burrow, who, I mean, Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, is one of the scariest quarterbacks to play against.
Yeah.
So, and to beat him in Cincinnati, that's a tough accomplishment too.
Did you see where Joe Burrow showed up to the stadium
Yeah.
wearing a replica jersey of his father's CFL team, the Montreal Alouettes? That was pretty cool. I did not know his father played in the CFL.
If I did hear that, it been a while, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool to see that, especially, and we'll talk about the Alouettes and maybe why he kind of repped that jersey this
Right.
weekend.
But I had to do a little research. Jim Burrow, his dad, played in the NFL for the Green Bay Packers in 1976. Then he went up to Canada and he played for the Montreal Alouettes from 77 to 80. He played for the Calgary Stampeders in 1980. He got traded during the season there. And he finished his season with the Ottawa Rough Riders in 81. He actually won a Grey Cup title with Montreal in 77.
Interesting.
So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah,
And I like that jersey he's wearing
That was,
too.
when I saw the picture, I was like, huh, that kind of looks like an old school Alouettes jersey. And then, yep, turns out when I saw the picture, I didn't realize it was being shared by the CFL because I was like, oh, it's a picture of Joe Burrow.
Yep.
So it took me a minute, but eventually connected those dots. But pretty cool thing. I like it when players wear jerseys like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Travis Kelce on one of his podcasts with his brother was wearing a Frankfurt Galaxy jersey, which I thought was pretty cool. So, all right, we're going to move on real quick to the 49ers just decimating the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are the 49ers back, and are the Jaguars maybe not as good as we thought they were? I think it's a little column A, a little column B for both. But look, getting Deebo Samuel back for the 49ers proved to be a big help. And I think I saw a clip of the Jaguars or one of the Jaguars players who was mic'd up saying they didn't know what they were doing out there. And it shows, going down 34-3. So the 49ers getting back in the win column after dropping 3 straight, and the Jags dropping 1 after winning 5 or 6 straight.
Yeah, wow.
And then I actually watched this next game. The Minnesota Vikings behind Joshua Dobbs defeated the New Orleans Saints 27-19. I'm not saying the Vikings are making me nervous, but they don't make me. I'm not overlooking them either. But I mean, Joshua Dobbs looks great. He looks, like he's having a lot of fun out there. And for the Saints, man, I just don't know what's happening with the Saints. They're a team that I think should be better than they are. Derek Carr did go down with a shoulder injury at some point during the game. Jameis Winston came in, but yeah, the Vikings behind Joshua Dobbs, they got some sort of energy there. And I mean, don't look now; they're only a game and a half back behind Detroit in that NFC North. So they're a team to watch out for. The Green Bay Packers fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers 23-19. The Tennessee Titans fell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-6. The Atlanta Falcons dropped a game to the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray's return to football 25-23. Again, another last-second field goal in that game. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights, but Kyler Murray running around the way he was in like prime form.
Yeah.
That's a scary thing to see. So
he's got some speed.
He's got speed. And if you're the Cardinals, like everybody's thinking they were tanking to replace him, but when he's healthy and he's this good, you might have to consider sticking with him. So we'll see what the Cardinals end up doing.
I just don't think they've been playing to his strengths.
I know, right? Yeah, that might be their biggest issue.
Him into an offense that he's not comfortable with, I think.
Or at least get him some stilts so he can at least look over the offensive line. One or the other.
Lifts in those shoes, maybe.
The Dallas Cowboys beat up on the New York Giants 49-17. If you like that movie Little Giants, this was not your day.
Mama Rooski.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants, I feel bad for the Giants. They had so much promise last year. Now this year they just are so bad.
Yep.
And then the Cowboys, don't get your ego too inflated because it was just the Giants.
Right.
So yeah. And then the Detroit Lions defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 41-38 on a last-second field goal. Unbelievable. And to get to that point, it was a couple of things. The Chargers scoring a touchdown to leave 3 minutes left for Detroit was a little baffling. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, Detroit's got a shot to just go down. All they got to do is go down and kick a field goal.
Exactly.
But to get even to that point, Dan Campbell made the call to go for it on 4th and 2 when he could have kicked a field goal, which would have left about 1 minute and 48 seconds had they made it.
Right.
He decided we just got to go 2 yards. We can't stop the Chargers offense apparently today.
No defense could.
No defense could.
No defense could stop the other today.
So it was kind of a repeat of that Seahawks game where it was like, it's going to come down to whoever's got the ball last.
Right, exactly.
And in this case, Dan Campbell, with the big brass cojones he had to make the decision to go for it on that 4th and 2. Unbelievable.
Well, that was not the only fourth.
Not the only one during the game.
What was it, like 3 or 4?
There's a
Maybe
few.
5 during the game?
They were 4 or 5 during the game.
Wow.
But that one was the biggest.
Sure.
But I mean, they had the one early in the game when Kyle and I talked about it. It was like 4th and 5, and they ran it up the middle. That is not something you typically see on a 4th down play. You think it's
Right.
like some sort of like gadget play or a lot of misdirection, but it was like, nah, we're just gonna give it to Montgomery and we're gonna run straight at the tackle. And they got it. I'm just like, that blew my mind right there. But the Dan Campbell, and he even had that quote today about, get your diapers ready, because
You're going to be crapping your pants when you see us play.
so yeah, Dan Campbell, just the quote machine, that man.
So
is.
now, are people going to start wearing diapers to the game?
God, I hope not. It's not. If Kyle goes on to the show next week wearing a diaper,
No, the correct answer was going to be depends.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even with you. Speaking of Depends, I see the Amazon truck backing up with your weekly
Again?
shipment of
Holy
Depends.
All we've been doing is getting deliveries today.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Depends. Yep. That's a big truck, too. But, yeah, so, I mean, Kyle and I, we talked at nauseam about the Lions. And, look, the way that they play is so fun and infuriating at the same time. That defense, if they just tweaked a few things on defense, I would not have been in the state of panic / just absolute on the edge of the couch, head in my hands, and my girlfriend just like, is he going to be okay?
Well, we did not watch the game together.
No.
I didn't.
Were you doing the same thing? Were you on the edge of your seat with the head in your hands?
I wasn't really too upset the whole game long. I kept thinking all Detroit's got to do is get a stop here.
Yeah.
Stop them. We'll
needed
be up
one
by 2
stop at any
scores. I'll feel
point.
better. And we couldn't. We couldn't get a stop. We'd go ahead, they tie it up. We'd go ahead, they tie it up. We'd go ahead, they tie it up. And but then the last time when it was 38-38, and like you said, you look at the clock and you give Detroit 3 minutes. I said, "Oh my God, they're gonna milk this clock down to nothing, and they're gonna kick a field goal to win this game."
I was like, at the least,
do
the
it.
Lions' running game has been far superior to the Chargers all game long. They also couldn't be stopped at that point during the game.
And we had that 2-headed monster in Montgomery.
Yeah,
and
and
Gibbs.
boy, both of them shelling out.
Yeah.
Shutting up some of the people.
They both had over 100 yards.
Yeah, they
in the
did.
game.
So a lot of good stuff from the Lions. And look, I'm not saying it was a perfect game,
No,
but the Lions sitting at 7-2. Well, how often have you and I been able, in our lifetimes, been able to say the Lions are 7-2?
not since you've been alive.
Right? That's the truth. I think, what was it? 2014 was the last time, and then 93. What, the year they went to the NFC Championship? So
yeah, they were 12 and something.
I was 4 years old then, and then I was in 2014. How old would I have been? I'd have been 20 something. So 9 years ago, so I would have been 30 or 23 the last time this happened. So once every couple decades, I get to see this. Apparently.
Yeah, it's been about once every 5 decades for me.
But all right, enough Lions talk. We're just glad they won.
Yeah.
All right. The Washington Commanders fell to the Seattle Seahawks 26-29. Was that another one of those field goal games? Yes, it was. So that's 5 out of the 6 that we got. So the Seahawks getting a last second win. Then the Sunday night game, the Raiders beat the Jets 16-12. I'm liking the Raiders' new mentality after allowing the interim head coach in there, Antonio. I forget his last name at the top of my head.
I don't know what his name is.
I want to say Antonio Gibson, but I could be wrong. But when they fired McDaniels and this guy's come in, he's now 2-0. He's definitely that locker room. You see the new locker room videos of like Devontae Adams just having a ball there in Vegas now. So they have just shifted. We'll see if it continues. And we said that last week, but could the Raiders be one of those teams that make a push now? Like this new energy. We'll see.
I don't know.
And then, how about this? Last night's Monday night game was absolutely bonkers. I think a lot of people figured, well, I know the Bills haven't played great this year, but this should be a game they win, right?
Yeah.
Except for me. If you watched our picks videos, I'm pretty sure I picked the Broncos.
You were the only one that
Yeah,
picked.
that's right. I knew. I smelled this one. I smelled the fact that the Broncos would kick a last-second field goal twice to win the game. What do you mean by twice? Well, if you saw the game last night, absolute madness, because they kicked the first one and missed it
with 8 seconds to go.
8 seconds to go, and you're like, poor Denver. But then Buffalo had 12 men on the field. Absolute boneheadedness.
Move
And
it up 5 yards and kick it again.
yep, they kicked it again, and he knocked it right through to
With no time left on the clock.
give the Denver Broncos the 24-22 win.
I don't see that as Denver winning so much as the Bills losing that game.
I mean, I don't from the opening. So I watched the opening kickoff to one of the first early plays, and that first play of the game was a screen pass to number 4 for Buffalo. I forget the kid's name, Cook, I want to say. Had it stripped from his hands first play, and
Yep.
Denver recovered it. And I
Yep.
was like, "Oh, Denver's here to play." I was like, they might actually back up my prediction. And Russ looked a little better from what I saw. I didn't watch the whole game. I caught it in bits and pieces. But then Buffalo kind of came back. But what's wrong with Buffalo? I don't want to give Denver, a slight here. I think Denver won that game. You kicked the last second field, you won that game. You did enough to win the game. But Buffalo also not playing up to what we've
No,
expected of them. That's
there's
the
something
weird
going
part.
on with that team. I can't put my finger on it, but they're not the team that everybody thought they were going to be this year.
I mean, and we can just talk about it right now. We got it in the news segment, but it's like really our only NFL news of the week, so we'll just take care of it now.
Okay.
Then the Bills this morning fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey after this 5-5 start, obviously losing to Denver last night. So you have 12 men on the field who caused the Broncos to eventually kick the game-winning field goal, and you fire the offensive coordinator. Why not the special teams guy for allowing something stupid like that to happen?
Well, there was a lot more going on the offense that
Yeah.
was not right last night.
And
I think just the fact that they're 5-5, put him in a bad light.
And you got friends in the PFRA. We know people that are Buffalo Bills fans. A lot of Bills fans in the PFRA. Very curious to see what they think about the situation.
They were pretty quiet last night. A lot of them like to boast, "Oh man, we're going to win. Big score, run it up tonight, blah blah blah." And usually they're right. Last year that's all that Buffalo was doing. But boy, this year there's something going on with the Bills, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to.
But
put your
it's
finger on
sad
it.
because we all thought the Bills were going to be really good.
Yeah.
In that division. They should have been the best team there, and boy, they're just barely. They're a 500 team right now.
Yeah. All right, so that is it for the NFL scoreboard. We're gonna move on to the Canadian Football League. Our beloved CFL is in playoff mode right now.
I was so depressed when I saw the final score of this first game.
Yeah, well, I was disappointed because I figured I was like, oh well, the playoff game should be on a ESPN Plus or on a CBS Sportsnet.
ESPN Plus. I was looking for it on CBS Sportsnet.
Yeah, see, I didn't see him on anything.
Really? Okay.
I was a little bummed because I was like, I wanted to watch the game really bad. This weekend, and the first game Saturday saw the Montreal Alouettes upset the defending Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts 38-17. Montreal was up only 10-3 at halftime, so the Argonauts were in it, but second half, obviously, they just ran away with this one. Alouettes quarterback Cody Fajardo completed 18 passes for 175 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for another 38 yards, while wide receiver Tyler Snead had a touchdown catch. On Toronto's side, quarterback Chad Kelly completed 21 passes for 246 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for an additional 68 yards, but had 4 interceptions during the game. That will do it.
Yeah, that was
2 ended up being returned for touchdowns. Yeah, that's a big swing right there. Running back A.J. Olette had 71 rushing yards, and wide receiver Devarius Daniels had 77 receiving yards and a touchdown. It's the first Grey Cup appearance for Montreal since 2010, where they beat Saskatchewan 21-18. And we know Mr. Tim Capper is a Montreal Alouettes fan, over at Arena fan. He was there, and congratulations to him and his team. I'm a little bummed, but I think this is also no team who's won 16 games in a CFL season.
Right, that was a new record.
Has ever made it to the Grey Cup.
Well,
because I think there was a team, they said back in the day, there was another team that won 16 games, didn't make it to the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
So
this tied a record. I can't remember who the other team was. We mentioned it last week, who the other team was that went 16.
Edmonton?
I don't recall. But yeah, you would think that a team that went 16-2 this year would have walked all over anybody in their home stadium, BMO Field in Toronto. And I watched the highlight package, and just to watch Montreal come out like they didn't care who was on the other side of the ball. They just they were on a mission, and boy, did they come through.
Yeah, they might be the team I'll be rooting for in the Grey Cup because their opponent will end up being the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who defeated the British Columbia Lions in the West Championship game or the West Conference Final, 24-13. Winnipeg was up 18-10 at halftime. Winnipeg quarterback Zach Collaros completed 14 passes for 158 yards, no touchdowns. Running back Brady Oliveira had 109 yards rushing and a touchdown, while wide receiver Kenny Lawler had 83 receiving yards. For British Columbia, quarterback Vernon Adams completed 13 passes for 221 yards, a touchdown. But again, the killer, 3 interceptions. He also was sacked 9 times. That does not help.
No, that doesn't help. At all.
Wide receiver Justin McInnes had 110 receiving yards and a touchdown. It is the 4th consecutive Grey Cup for these Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who I'm sure going into this game will be the heavy favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, I'm pulling for the Alouettes to come up with an upset. The game, the 110th Grey Cup game, will be played in Hamilton, Ontario on November 19th. That is this weekend, folks. Montreal, who are 13-7 on the season, will take on the 15-4 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Should be a fun, exciting game. I just hope, obviously, even I'm thinking, dang it, the Blue Bombers are going to probably win this one.
Yep.
I just hope, make it a game, Montreal. Go in there like you did with the Argonauts and just.
They can. They showed they can.
So
this could be a real close game.
Because the last time the Alouettes were in there, they had I'm gonna blank on the quarterback they had back in the day, because the Alouettes were like absolutely incredible back in the early 2010s.
Calvillo.
Yeah,
Anthony Calvillo.
Calvillo, man, they were like in it every year. He was just a great quarterback.
Yep.
And now to see them in this year, good for them. After a few years, they've had a rough few years. These Alouettes, so it's nice to see them make it.
Well, that's why Joe Burrow was wearing his dad's replica Montreal Alouettes because they won that day to advance to the Grey Cup. So he was honoring his dad, former Grey Cup champion. And you probably didn't watch. It was maybe too late for you last night, but Chris Berman at halftime, he does his fastest 3 minutes in sports.
Oh, okay.
And he was running through all the games. How many games?
He does like bringing up the CFL.
NFL games with walk-off field goals. But at the end, he mentioned the upset of the Argonauts by Montreal.
He likes slipping those in if he can.
He loved that. And I thought that was so cool that he actually showed highlights of that game. And I love Chris Berman.
Chris Berman's a national treasure.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yep.
All right, so that'll do it for the CFL, and I'm going to be a little sad next week is our final week of talking CFL for a while. Man, what a long year.
Yeah.
We always do this. We're like, man, where'd the CFL season go?
I know it.
And it's the longest season.
I know. Well, because you're thinking, the NFL is only halfway through, but the CFL is now done after next Sunday.
Yeah.
And so we'll have other things to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to college football. It was week 11 in college football, and there are still 7 undefeated teams. We're going to start with the FBS. It was number 1 Ohio State, improving to 10-0 with a win over Michigan State, 38-3. Number 2 Georgia improved to 10-0 over number 9 Ole Miss, 52-17. Number 3 Michigan improved to 10-0 over number 10 Penn State, 24-15, without their head coach.
Yep, we're going to
talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll go on until we get past all the scores here. Number 4 Florida State improved to 10-0 with a win over Miami of Florida, 27-20. Number 5 Washington improved to 10-0 with a win over number 18 Utah, 35-28. It was number 14 Missouri upsetting number 13 Tennessee, 36-7. University of Central Florida upset number 15 Oklahoma State, 45-3. Georgia Tech upset number 16 Kansas, 16-13. Number 21 Arizona over Colorado, 34-31. I did catch some of this game. I forget what network it was on. It was on one of our regular ones. It was up in the 400 channels. But I did watch the end of that game, and that came down to a last-second field goal, just about. Yeah, I mean, I think Colorado is still a fun team to watch play. They had some rough games, but I mean, they played well in this game. They just didn't come out with a win. But they're still a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think going into the year, we kind of figured, look, they're going to be a fun team to watch. Dion definitely flipped that team's roster around thanks to the transfer portal.
Yep.
But we figured it was like they might be a fringe bowl team this year. They're not going to go to the national championship, but give them a year or two. we could be talking national championship Colorado
Yeah.
easily. It's just early stages right now. They just gotta get a few years under their belts.
Yep. Continuing with some scores, Illinois over Indiana, 48-45 in overtime. It was Memphis over UNC Charlotte, 48-38 in overtime.
44-38.
I'm sorry, 44-38 in overtime. James Madison improved to 10-0 with a win over UConn, 44-6, and Liberty improved to 10-0 with a win over Old Dominion, 38-10. In another game, it was Texas A&M over Mississippi State, 51-10. Both head coaches were fired after this game. We're going to talk some more about that in a minute here. And last Tuesday night, right after we got done podcasting, our Western Michigan Broncos improved to 4-6 with a win over their arch rival Central Michigan, 38-28. Man, that was a good game. Oh, I enjoyed that so much. They won the Michigan MAC Trophy, which is a trophy between Central, Eastern, and Western Michigan. They beat both the other teams, so they can won that trophy again this year. And the Victory Cannon Trophy between Central and Western was also won, so that's staying in Kalamazoo also. So a great night.
What a back and forth game that was. Like Western was up like 21-7 at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, Western seems like they got a handle on it. And I turned the game off to go edit something, I think. And then all of a sudden I see Central Michigan scores 21 unanswered points. I'm like, oh no. And then I went to bed after that. And then I woke up to Western winning by the score they did. I was just like,
Yeah.
what in the world? What absolute nutball of a game.
But they're playing again tonight and next Tuesday night. So they've
Yeah.
got Tuesday night games in those Maction Series games for the next 2 weeks. They are still on the verge of being bowl eligible. If they win their last two games, they'll be 6-6. They will be bowl eligible. And I saw an article or headline that said, "Will there be enough 6-6 teams this year to fill all the bowl spots?" So if they can make 6-6, they should definitely get a bowl game somewhere. It's not great. 6-6, you're barely qualifying for a bowl, but I sure do like to see Western Michigan. And if they go to a decent bowl, it just might be fun to go travel somewhere.
Yeah,
And
never
maybe they'll
know.
go to Ford Field again, play in the what is that?
Now it's the
Quick Lanes Bowl.
Quick Lanes
I wanted to say
Bowl.
Motor City Bowl. It's been a couple things over the years, but
Yeah.
depending on where they go, we might be worth checking them out when it is and where it is. Continuing scores in the military academies, it was Army over an FCS team, Holy Cross, by the score of 17-14. Navy over University of Alabama Birmingham, 31-6, and Hawaii over Air Force, 27-13.
Ouch.
That's two straight
I was
losses
gonna say two straight,
for Air
yeah.
Force. And
So they were ranked, they were undefeated, and now they've dropped two straight. That stings.
the Fox pregame show was at the Air Force Academy.
Oh,
So
okay.
and Gronk jumped out of an airplane live on the air.
Oh, I
and
didn't see
landed.
that.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Huh.
I taped that, but if you wanted to watch it,
I mean,
it's
probably
in my trash folder, but I can pull it.
well, it's probably DVR'd on my YouTube TV because it saves all those pre-games.
Okay.
But I just didn't catch pre.
It was interesting. Your mom and I both want to go to the Air Force Academy sometime, spend some time there and check it out. So it was kind of cool seeing some of the academy.
Hey, I'd be down for going to a game
Oh, I'd love that.
next
would
year or
love that.
something. That'd be fun.
All right, let's close this out with some FCS scores. We've got different levels of football. From here on, it's just two random scores that I picked out. At the FCS level, it was Yale over Princeton, 36-28 in double overtime, and Georgetown over Bucknell, 50-47 in overtime. In Division II, it was the Colorado School of Mines shutting out Fort Lewis 82-0. Harding shut out Arkansas Tech 56-0. In Division III, it was Trine University over Kalamazoo College 42-29, and Mary Hardin Baylor beat up on Howard Payne 35-10. Why is she beating up on that guy? I don't know. Let's see. NAIA scores. St. Francis of Indiana over Taylor 44-31, and Cumberland of Tennessee over Faulkner of Alabama 10-3. In junior college scores, it was our favorite junior college, Snow College from Ephraim, Utah, improving to 9-2 with a win over Monroe College 32-13, and Navarro squeaked by Trinity Valley 30-29. U Sports up in Canada, this was their playoff weekend, one of their playoff weekends. They had some playoff games last weekend, but this weekend it was St. Francis Xavier, the X-Men, over Bishop's Gators 34-23 in the Loney Bowl. It was the Western Mustangs over the Laurier Golden Hawks 29-14 in the 115th Yates Cup. The Montreal Carabins over the Laval Red and Gold 16-12 in the Dunsmore Cup.
12-6.
What did I say?
Said 16-12.
Oh, 12-6 in the Dunsmore Cup. And finally, the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds squeaked by the Alberta Golden Bears 28-27 in the Hardy Cup. And that sets up the two bowl games next week that will determine who will play in the Vanier Cup National Championship game. In the Mitchell Bowl, it'll be St. Francis Xavier X-Men versus the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds in Vancouver. And then on the other coast, it's the UTEC Bowl, the Western Mustangs versus the Montreal Carabins in Montreal. And again, the winners of those two bowl games will play in the Vanier Cup Championship game in Kingston, Ontario on November 25th. And finally, it was the championship game of the Canadian Junior Football League where the Saskatoon Hilltops defeated the West Shore Rebels 17-10. And that is it for college football in North America. All right, moving on. Let's see. We're going to go right to our college news. Coach Jim Harbaugh of Michigan is suspended for the last 3 regular season games by the Big Ten over the sign stealing scandal. Now,
this story just
we
will
talked about
not
this.
die.
We talked about this last week. He was not allowed to play or to coach in the game against Penn State on Saturday because of this ruling.
Which came down less than a day.
I think they said he was on the airplane.
He was on the airplane to the game,
Yeah.
which I'm sorry. I understand like that Michigan clearly they did something wrong. I'm not
Sure.
saying they didn't. I'm not saying they should go unpunished.
Right.
But the fact that the commissioner of the Big Ten has felt this pressure to do something as soon as possible and to do it in such a way that they couldn't appeal. Like they have a process for a reason. They have all these rules, and if they have evidence, sure, but you still have to go through your process. And Michigan could probably find a way to get out of it till the end of the season. But the way they've handled this, the Big Ten as an organization and the commissioner of this Big Ten, absolutely classless. Like I get it, you want to punish Michigan, they probably should be punished, will be punished, but the way they did it is just you can't do it while the guy's on the plane. You can't. That's a coward's move. I'm not cool with that. Add this to the fire of eventually the getting rid of these conference commissioners, getting rid of the conferences altogether and becoming a big AmPro. This is added to the domino effect I've been talking about for weeks. Like, and I've heard some people saying like, "Oh, Michigan should," and apparently the board of trustees or whatever for Michigan said, "We'll threaten to leave the Big Ten conference." And I'm like, "Where are you gonna go?"
Yeah.
Everybody's joining conferences for this new landscape, and you want to be the
Right.
one dumb organization to leave it?
Yeah.
I know you're mad, but that's not the way to go about it. And I don't see Michigan leaving the conference unless them and Ohio State
And
and
unless they take everybody with them.
you get like a Notre Dame and you form a brand new big
Right.
name conference, which
Right.
I don't see happening. But never say never, I guess. What
Well, on Saturday, I was listening to the pregame show on TV before that game. That was a 1:00 game, and they kept saying Jim Harbaugh is in the hotel here in Pennsylvania. He can't come to the game, but we're waiting to hear from. They requested a some sort of injunction to delay this until after the season, and so there was talk that he might actually get to coach in the game because this injunction, there was supposed to be a word come down, whether a judge was going to grant this injunction or not to put off this ruling until the end of the season. And it didn't happen, but there is going to be a ruling this Friday.
Yeah.
So they are going to have their day in court
The
to
drama continues.
say, we don't think this is fair. The Big Ten is not following their own bylaws, and here's the bylaws they're not following, and all that. So that's going to play out on Friday before their game against Maryland.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they lift that, and so he can actually coach these last 2 games, or if it's going to stick when he won't be able to coach the last 2 games. I don't know. Like you said, the drama continues, and it's just never ending this year.
I get it. They did something wrong. I'm not saying they didn't.
They're not the only ones,
I know, and
but they're in the crosshairs right now.
and I know like the excuse of, well, everybody's doing it. Look, I'm sorry. Yeah, everybody's doing it, but Michigan's the one that got caught. When you have kids in school and you know they're all smoking behind the bleachers, it's the kid that gets caught that's going to get in trouble.
Right.
So, look, the rest of those, if that really is happening, the rest of those schools should, if they're found out, they'll get their day.
Right.
So, but Michigan can't use that as, well, they're doing it too. Why are we getting sick? Because you got caught. You got a lot of evidence against you, and you got to deal with that. And if Jim Harbaugh knew about it, look, I think as long as at some point, I think the 3-game suspension is warranted, but maybe not right now. Like, obviously, like, oh, next year, maybe, yeah, suspend him again for the first 3 games of the year, like he was this year for giving a kid a cheeseburger, which is also stupid. But I think that I lost my train of thought for a second. But no, so, like, as long as the punishment isn't forfeiting games, as long as the punishment isn't something which I've never been cool with, like even with like the Reggie Bush scandal or with a lot of the Pete Carroll stuff at USC. And come on, all these other schools in the Big Ten, like looking at you, Ohio State, how many of these issues have you had? Now you have the gall to just sit there and stick your nose. Well, Michigan's over there just being a bunch of cheaters. When Jim Tressel and the last coach you had all those issues at your school. Oh, not so high and mighty then. Like, come on. Like, it's pot calling the kettle black. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, weren't you saying last week it was the Purdue coach that was calling out Michigan, and he was named in a similar scandal? For doing
at first it was like
thing.
He was calling them out, and then I think it came out that Purdue was one of the schools
that
was also doing this, sharing signs of Michigan. So, like, just sit down and shut up. Like, everybody's doing it. Look, I get it. Like, the in-person stuff is wrong. They should address it, punish him, and then change their bylaws, because if everybody's doing it, who the heck cares? And I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for a lot of these teams saying they're stealing our signs. Well, when you put a big stupid piece of cardboard above a intern's head with a Superman symbol, Scooby-Doo, the Captain Crunch mascot, and a thumbtack, if they decipher what all that means, I'm sorry. Like, if I took the time to figure it out too, I deserve to know what your plays are.
Fans in the stands could probably figure it out after a few plays. Oh, whenever they hold that card up, they're
it's
doing
a run
this
to
play.
the left. They hand it off to McGinty. It's just absolutely bonkers. The coaches need to finally do the right thing. Put the headset in the kids' helmets.
It'll prepare them for working in the NFL.
And we all know that's where it's going to. Again, my theory of this is all the domino effects leading to the Pro Collegiate League or whatever they're going to be. Pro-Am, where, you're a feeder league to the NFL right now anyway. You become Pro-Am and you make it a little bit more official while still kind of being universities. Like, it's where it's going. And I'm not Nostradamus, but I mean, you're welcome, because I am. You'll thank me someday.
You picked one game right, and you were at the bottom of the list on your other picks. So yeah, don't
take everything I say with a grain of salt. But look, I'm just saying, like, this whole scandal is, while warranted to an extent, it has been blown out of proportion. And I'm saying that as somebody, while I live in Michigan, while I will root for the Wolverines, I'm not a Wolverines fan. Like, I might have had a Wolverines t-shirt at some point, but I'm not out here shouting for the maize and blue week in and week out. I'll watch them, and like that game this past week was great. I was watching that whole thing, and the fact that I didn't even realize Michigan didn't throw a pass after 7 minutes in the second quarter, absolutely dumbfounded. And if that was really a message to the Big Ten, watch out, because, I mean, if Harbaugh suspended even more, expect some more messages, expect some more. And the fact that they're undefeated without Jim Harbaugh, that's something else too, to speak about the type of staff he's built. Well, they're a bunch of cheaters. I don't know about that. Like, you didn't have your head coach for 4 games this year, and they won them all. He's got a heck of a staff built there. Whether or not they're real, how much the cheating's actually impacting them, I don't know. I have a coworker or boss who also is a football coach on the side, and he said, "Look, you can have signs all day long from the other team, but it's how you go out there and how you prepare. Like, there's so much more than just stealing the signs that affect a football game." And clearly, I mean, it didn't help Michigan last year win a national championship. It didn't help them, beat TCU. So I don't know. And
well, like you, I'm kind of indifferent on the whole thing with Michigan. I'm not a diehard Michigan fan.
I do root for them in certain games.
But because of all this hoopla around this whole scandal, I'm now rooting for Michigan to shove it in everybody's face that you can try and stop us, but you can't stop us.
Right.
Whether I'm there or not, we're going to win.
I do like
And
that aspect of
yeah,
it.
so now I'm kind of rooting for Michigan to show everybody, look, you can take us to court, you can suspend me, you can make me sit in a hotel. We're still going to win games. We're still going to be there at the end of the season.
Yeah, and we'll see what the rankings do tonight. Like, how does a Harbaugh'less Michigan team that's still in the midst of a scandal rank now? Do they move up? Do they move down?
Well, you've got like the top 5 teams are all
Still
undefeated.
undefeated, but I mean,
You could shuffle those guys
what did
around a
Ohio
bit.
State do? They beat a terrible Michigan State team. What did Michigan do? They beat the 10th ranked team in the country
That's
without
right.
their head coach on the
That's
sideline,
right.
and they didn't throw a single pass from the second quarter to the end of the game. If that doesn't allow Michigan to just move up even to the number 2 spot or even take the number 1 spot
Yeah.
from Ohio State, then I'm not going to say there's an agenda. I'm sure there's still a lot at play with the big, with the college football rankings. And we all know it's a big glorified invitational,
Right.
whatever. That's also my issue with where college football is and where it's probably going to go. But anyway, we talked about this long enough.
Yeah, we
If we
beat
talked
this.
about Harbaugh for 3 weeks. We
we
can make a whole
beat
episode
this
out of the
subject to
Harbaugh
death.
stuff.
Okay, let's move on to another head coach.
Oh, God.
Jimbo Fisher was fired by Texas A&M. Fisher was in his 6th season as head coach of the Aggies, and he just signed a contract extension to be under contract through the year 2030. I think he just had a 9-year extension that he signed, where he's making $9 million a year. His
Jeez.
record in the last 6 years was 45-25. He was 6-4 this season, and they still fired him. And it's going to cost the school $77 million to buy out the rest of his contract.
Unbelievable. Isn't that nuts?
I heard Johnny Manziel wants to get into coaching today. Seriously, I heard he wants to get into coaching. Do you think he'll go back to his alma mater,
No.
Texas A&M, and be the
No.
head coach there? No, I
No.
don't think so either.
Like you're saying no.
But I just thought that was ironic that I did hear that today. So yeah, I don't know what their deal is with Jimbo Fisher. Maybe they're just thinking that they're not playing for a national championship, so he's got to go. 'Cause he did win a national championship at
How often?
Florida.
I don't know, but
Or
how
was
often
that
do you
in
see
Florida?
a team blow out another team 50-something, and you're the guy who gets fired
Yeah.
too? Like
Well,
unbelievable.
both of those teams, like I said, both of the coaches in
Yeah.
that Mississippi State game got fired because Mississippi State fired head coach Zach Arnett, and he was in his first season with a record of 5-6. So yeah, both coaches in that game got fired afterwards.
Unbelievable.
It was ridiculous. I can't believe that happened. All right, let's see. Let's move on to some arena football news, and we could talk about this all day.
Heck yeah, we
But
could.
in the last few days, the Philadelphia Soul
Yep.
have officially been announced, and just hours ago, the Minnesota Myth have been officially announced as a team in the Arena Football League. And I could have swore that the California Grizzlies had been officially announced, but I
No.
guess they were not.
I don't know where you were getting that information.
Yeah, well, I had them on my list because everybody was talking about them, so I just assumed that the announcement was coming soon, but no, nothing there. So right now, with the official announcement of the Chicago Rush this Friday, that will be 16 teams.
Yep.
But you keep saying that there's talk about an Arizona Bandits team.
So I'm not saying it's official. I've been seeing this. It's the same logo that appeared on that one leaked team photo from the league website at one point.
Okay.
There's like a couple extra teams with cowboy hats that I was alluding to, that were on that, and they haven't been announced yet, and we haven't heard anything about them. But then this thing popped up the other day. There's an Arizona Bandits Twitter account. I don't know if it's an X account, if it was Instagram or Facebook, but yeah, it's popped up, and so we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. And then what other teams were they talking about? We're still wondering if they're going to do something with St. Louis. That
Yes.
Florida Cyclones was a
Yep.
team that we've seen
Tallahassee.
out of Tallahassee that we've seen. I've seen an Instagram account for, and I'm pretty sure the commissioner follows. So I don't know if that's just something that's fallen through because we had heard 20 teams again,
Right.
but since they now will have 16 officially with the Rush, and they're announcing their schedule this Friday at an event,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So they're going to announce their schedule and then officially announce the Rush the next day.
Yeah.
This whole schedule release, and I can't wait to talk to Tim Capper about some of this. But
Is he as confused as we
I
are
mean,
about some
it's
of
just
the?
it's baffling to me that you would have. We're going to announce our schedule, and like the fact that the other what was it a couple weeks ago when they announced officially, oh, the Rush are going to play the Soul, huh? You have not officially announced either of these two teams, and you're telling us that they're playing. So what? Why not
Right,
officially announce them? That
right.
I don't understand the rollout for the Arena League right now, and I'm sure we'll have to save my rant for another video, because it's all about the clicks. But between that and if you've seen their press release, I saw somebody criticize the Minnesota Myth press release, and I saw it too, and I'm like, yeah, this is bad. Where something as simple as didn't you learn in school to put a space between your paragraphs?
That was nitpicky.
I get it, it's
I didn't care
nitpicky,
for
but
that.
still, I just
But they didn't announce an arena,
nope.
and they didn't announce
The Soul didn't announce an arena either.
they didn't announce a head coach for
No,
the Myth. Oh
the
no, they
the
did
Myth
for the Myth.
didn't,
The Myth.
but the Soul did announce their head coach either today or yesterday.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, Ricky Foggy is going to be the head coach
of the Myth,
of the
right?
Myth. Yes,
Okay, yeah.
and he played for the Fighting Pike and a few other AFL teams over the course of his career. I remember him.
Yeah, so
Um,
we'll obviously we'll do when everything's settled, the dust is settled with the Arena League. We plan on doing another video and hopefully getting Mr. Capper involved.
right.
That should be a lot of fun with him. But yeah, like the Florida Cyclones, the supposedly this team in Ohio, there was a team in Colorado, St. Louis, Austin, Boise, cities that they said they were going to go to that have just
Right.
what's happening.
So we can only assume that with the announcement of the Chicago Rush on Friday and the schedule coming out, that they will be going with 16 teams. But who knows?
Yeah,
They could announce 4 more teams tomorrow.
They could announce the schedule, and we'll be like, huh? Who's the California Grizzlies? Like,
Yeah,
or they could announce some of these teams that we haven't heard. The Austin Wranglers.
yeah.
Like, what are they doing on the schedule? They haven't been announced yet.
Right.
So, what is the point of putting that together if you don't have that? So, I'm guessing. I'm don't know yet. I'm gonna assume that the Arizona Bandits thing is just a fan-made thing again. I'm not gonna give it much credit unless it officially comes out through the league. But I'm gonna assume that look, they got their 16 teams. Maybe the last 4 is just too much of a headache to finalize, and they just want to get the schedule out.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't surprise me with the way this league has been going so far. If we get the schedule and there's 4 teams on there that they haven't officially announced, that they'll slowly officially announce in the coming weeks after that. It's just I don't understand that. If you're gonna have your schedule, wouldn't you just have all the teams announced, ready to go? Like it's been all over the place.
Just
I get it's their first year back.
pull up your diapers and enjoy it.
All right, Dan Campbell. All right, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just
Right, yeah.
I get it's your first year, and am I wrong in thinking that the part of the ownership group for the Myth is Lee Hutton's wife, or is that just
I think so. I think so. But we'll find out all that on Thursday of this
Yeah,
week.
we'll see. At some big event in New York, I'm hoping that. And don't get me wrong, at that event, they could shed so much light and answer so many of these questions and
Right.
nitpicks we've had that maybe it'll be all
It'll
fine.
all make sense, maybe.
And if it doesn't,
And why are they doing it in New York? They don't have a team in New York.
well, they have an Albany, New York team, and they have.
But is it New York City where they're
Yeah,
announcing
sounds
this?
like, yeah.
Madison Square Garden
Yeah.
or something.
I don't
Why
know.
not go to a place where they're actually
Because they're
have a team?
secretly going to announce a 21st team that we didn't know about in New York City.
The New York Gladiators are
The
coming
New York
back.
City Hawks,
Yeah.
Part 2.
Oh my gosh, it's
The
going to
City
be a
Hawks
lively-
take Manhattan.
We're going to have a lot to talk about next week. We'll be
I
talking
can't
about
wait.
this on our show. We'll be talking about the Division 2 and Division 3 playoffs this coming weekend. There's going to be so much next week.
Yeah.
And the Grey Cup
Yeah,
this weekend.
Grey
so
Cup game. Yeah, it's going to be.
Tune in to next
We already
week's
got a
show.
jam-packed show, and it's not even next week.
Yeah, really. Another thing that I want to talk about was Peyton's Places. Now, you haven't watched any of these this year.
I have not.
But they had episode 4 from season 4, and he was talking with Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks owner and the star of Shark Tank, and they were talking about football inventions. And they were at USC because I guess they have a patent library there, so they were able to get drawings and stuff for things that were invented for football that kind of never took off. And he was kind of asking Mark Cuban, well, would you invest in this thing? And they had something called a kicking chute. And what it was you put the ball at the end of this wooden thing. It's like a wooden trough, and you swing your leg through the trough, and you always make the field goal. So, can you imagine them pulling out this wooden trough to kick a field goal? And they had the helmet telephone that they used to use during the NFL draft all the time. It was an actual full size helmet with a phone in it. and they had so many other cool things that some were quirky, some were weird. You know, a Velcro strap that went around your helmet that had a football on a rubber band, and you could practice, throwing to yourself, and you know, some of them were ridiculous, but it was a really good episode. They had a water filled football to help players learn and practice how not to fumble the ball.
Hmm.
It made it heavier and kind of sloshed around, so you had to hold on to it even tighter or something like that. But it was a pretty good episode, and so I would definitely check
Sounds
that
like a
out.
good season of
It
Peyton's
is.
Places so
It's
far. I mean,
always a good
I've always
season.
enjoyed it. The episodes I've
Yes.
sat down and watched, I always enjoyed. I say that every week. I'll see clips. I think I saw a clip of the helmet phone and
Yep.
him talking to Mark Cuban this week. So, look, Peyton and Omaha Productions, they look between uh, doing the Manning casts on ESPN, they're killing it. And they're a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Peyton's got a good sense of just entertaining people.
Yeah, I watched the Manning cast last night. It was pretty good. And you're right. I mean, you know exactly what you're going to get when you got Peyton Manning
And Eli
and
Eli
Eli.
Eli will sneak in there with some sneaky good jokes. Like he was always the one I was like, he's not that funny. But then one of my favorite Eli things was that one commercial between him and Peyton where they're kicking each other behind
Oh, yeah.
Archie's back. Like
Yeah.
that's great. Eli was funny in that one. He just will come out with these zingers against Peyton
Yep.
on these broadcasts. I'll see the clips. I'm like, dang, Eli just coming out with the heat, making fun of Peyton's forehead. Or there's something else he did to Peyton, I think, this week that just absolutely was great.
Yeah.
Or was it when the donkey came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger? He said something about Peyton.
Well, last night they had Lindsey Vaughn on there, and she was making a prediction. And when somebody makes a prediction correctly, they put him on their prediction board.
Right.
And he goes, "Boy, Lindsey, I'm sorry, but the little picture we've got of your head is so much smaller than all the other ones." And then he pulls out the one of Peyton's, and it's like she would fit on his forehead. The difference in size.
Yeah, so Eli has got a good sense of it. Eli's is like sneaky funny.
He is.
He's no Arch
He
or
is.
who's the Cooper. He's not
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah,
Cooper's
he's
my
no
favorite.
Cooper.
Cooper's my favorite. Where's Cooper at for all this?
He should be. He should be on there somewhere. But yeah, like I said, you know what you're getting when you get the Mannings
Yeah.
out there, and they don't disappoint.
They
So,
don't.
this Peyton's Place is good. People should be watching it. Check it out on ESPN Plus.
Yep.
All right, let's go on to today's birthdays. Defensive tackle Dana Stubblefield turns 53 years old today. He played his college football at Kansas. He was the 26th overall pick in the 1993 NFL Draft by the San Francisco 49ers. He played 11 NFL seasons. He was with the 49ers from 93 to 97, the Washington Redskins from 98 to 2000, the 49ers in 2001 and 2002, the Oakland Raiders in 2003, and he won Super Bowl 29 as a member of the 49ers. And today, November 14th, is also the anniversary of the 1970 plane crash that killed the Marshall football team.
Dang, so you
and
bust
gave
out
us
the
and
We
gave
Are
us the
Marshall
movie We
DVDs.
Are Marshall. Yeah, yep. All right, we do have a couple of obituaries today. This is where we take a moment and honor those who made the world of football a better place. The first one is DJ Hayden, a defensive back in the NFL for 9 seasons, dies as a result of a car crash at the age of 33. Hayden played college football at Houston and was the 12th overall pick in the 2013 NFL Draft by the Oakland Raiders. He played for the Raiders from 2013 to 2016. He was with the Detroit Lions in 2017. He's with the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2018 to 2020. And he was with the Washington football team in 2021.
All right, our final obituary this week is that of Matt Ulrich, a guard in the NFL for 2 seasons, has passed away at the age of 41. Cause of death was not immediately released. Ulrich played college football at Northwestern. He signed as a free agent with the Indianapolis Colts and played for the team in 2005 and 2006, winning Super Bowl 41. So a couple of young ones this
Yeah.
week. Man,
Yep.
tough to hear. I had forgotten about DJ Hayden playing with Detroit.
Yeah, me too.
All those years ago.
Yep.
So
All right, upcoming events calendar. Tonight, Western Michigan takes on Northern Illinois at 7 p.m. on ESPNU. Both teams are 4-6. Both teams need a win to stay bowl eligible.
Yeah.
So it should be an exciting game tonight. Boy, Northern Illinois has been a real thorn in their side for many years. So we'll see if Western can get past them tonight and continue to be bowl eligible going into the last game of the season. This Saturday, November 18th, it's the Harvard-Yale game and the Lehigh-Lafayette game, both being played. On Sunday, November 19th, the 110th Grey Cup Championship game at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, where you're going to have the Montreal Alouettes taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
With Green Day playing at halftime.
That's right. That's right.
So that should be entertaining.
They're no Shania Twain, but I'm sure they'll do a good
they'll
job.
put on a decent show. They're still kind of fun to watch.
I don't think there'll be any snow this weekend
we'll
in
see.
Ontario.
Is that supposed to be on CBS Sports then? Am I going to be able to find that somewhere?
It better
to watch?
be somewhere, whether it's ESPN or
God,
someplace.
I hope so.
If it's not on TV, I will be upset.
Should be a Sunday evening game.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll be able to watch the Lions and then that game. Yeah, I'll be a happy camper Sunday.
Yep. Okay, let's see. Saturday, November 25th, the U Sports Vanier Cup, the College Football National Championship game, will be played in Kingston, Ontario. And then Saturday, December 9th, the Army-Navy game, the last regular season college game of the season before we get into the bowl games.
Someday would love to go to an Army-Navy game.
Yeah. I'll take an Air Force game first.
I mean, of course. But I mean, I'd love to go to some of these prestigious, like the Harvard-Yale game, the Lehigh-Lafayette game, Army-Navy. Those games. Eventually, at some point, I'd like to go to a Michigan-Ohio State game, but I'd be afraid to wear either of those team colors. So I'd go with my Western gear probably. But I would just love to go to some of these rivalry games. I would love to eventually get down to like Alabama, Auburn. How nuts would that place be? Go down to see like the Red River rivalry. Maybe even like Oregon, Washington. That just seems absolutely bonkers. Like games like that. I mean, I'd even be debating on going a week from this week when Penn State plays Michigan State at Ford Field. That would be something I'd be curious about going to. I know it's a little last second, but man, because that, seeing Penn State always does the big whiteout games. That's another rivalry. Maybe not as big as the others, but man, I'd love to just do some more college rivalry games.
Well, I don't have my sights set quite as high as you. I'm just looking forward to going to a Western Michigan game at the Keebler Elf Bowl, wherever that's going to be played.
Oh, man. Hold on. They say to just put stuff out in the internet, out there in the universe, and maybe it'll come true. They call it manifesting. How about the Keebler Elf Bowl presented by the World of Football? Let's make it happen, Keebler. We can team up and do this bowl game right.
It wouldn't be the Keebler Elf Bowl because they're the sponsor, so we'd have to find a different.
We'll sponsor the sponsor. We'll just name the bowl after them. The World of Football Keebler Elf Bowl. I'm telling you.
Well, we could do the halftime show.
What would our halftime show
Pull
be?
out a couple of microphones and we'll just talk about the first half.
The most boring halftime show in history is two old men, two white guys sit in the middle of the field.
Well, everybody goes to the bathroom, gets another beer and a hot dog.
And we just talk about our favorite Weird Al tracks.
There you go.
What an entertainment.
Mine has got a boogie.
We probably shouldn't sing it. We'll probably get strike for copyright, but that's a good one.
All right. Do we have anything else before we close today's show?
No, I think we should be good.
What are we at, about 2 hours so far? We've been talking for
about as long as that last Marvel movie that just came out.
Okay.
I don't see any breaking news, so
no more AFL teams announced.
Not that I've seen, so we should be all right. And if they are, we'll have a video next week. Hopefully, I'm hoping next week we can do a video as long as they're not keeping announcing more teams.
Right.
Because we can just finally just sit and process everything that's happened and then bring it to you, the people.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, that's all we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address, if you want to send us an email, is info@theworldoffootball.com.
We're on Facebook, we're on X, and we are on Instagram. Just look up TWOF Kalamazoo. You'll be able to find us. Our famous logo with the planet and a football swirling around it. New episodes of this podcast are posted every Tuesday and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. And I'm sure other places you can find good podcasts. So just simply ask your Alexa device, play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever devices you may have around. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@theworldoffootball. Or you can just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo in the search bar. We have plenty of videos going across the gamut of football topics. lately it's been a lot of traction for arena football stuff. Obviously, we do our NFL stuff during the season. And we were just talking before the show. It seems like our history lessons and a lot of the other stuff we like to do might have to wait till our NFL stuff dies down.
Yep.
Get a little bit off of our plates. So please spread the word. Go over there, subscribe, rate, review, leave us comments. We enjoy interacting with everybody. If I'm not the one doing it, Randy's the one doing it. We see all your guys' opinions out there, and hey, as long as you guys are respectful, we appreciate you, and we try to communicate with you.
Thanks for being kind in the comments.
Yeah, so please come be a part of the kind football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us sitting here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm tired of talking about Michigan scandals.
Me too. We'll see you all next week.